So if you want to build the next Uber Eats or, DoorDash,
Right.
you might think you just need to hire a developer to build an app, like one app. But you would be wrong. You actually need to build 4 completely different pieces of software that have to talk to each other, like at the speed of light.
Yeah, they really do.
So today we are cracking open a really comprehensive 2026 guide that breaks down the exact costs, the timelines, and the often brutal technical realities of building a multi-vendor delivery platform.
Brutal is definitely the right word for it.
Right. And the price spread the source material presents is just eye-opening. We are looking at a range starting at $40,000, stretching all the way to $250,000 and well beyond.
Oh, yeah, it goes way beyond.
To put that in perspective, that is the difference between buying a well-equipped Honda Civic and commissioning a custom-built Ferrari.
It is a striking range, and I think it highlights just how misunderstood the software development process is from the outside.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Because the guide we are analyzing is essentially a survival manual for anyone entering this space. The fundamental illusion of a delivery platform is that it's a single, unified product.
Right, because it feels like one thing on my phone.
Exactly. But when a user downloads a dedicated Domino's Pizza app, that is a single vendor system. Yeah. The brand is connecting its own customers to its own specific kitchens using its own fleet of drivers. It's a straight clothesline.
Okay.
But a multi-vendor platform is entirely different. It's an open ecosystem. It connects thousands of independent sellers like restaurants, cloud kitchens, pharmacies, all to a shared customer base. And then it has to coordinate all of that with a shared pool of independent delivery couriers.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because using a delivery app is kind of like watching a swan glide across a lake. It looks totally effortless on the surface, just smoothly moving along.
That's a great analogy.
Right. But underneath the water, there are actually 4 different sets of legs paddling furiously just to keep the whole thing moving.
That is the perfect way to visualize the architecture, actually. You cannot evaluate the cost without first understanding those 4 distinct sets of legs, or what the guide refers to as the 4 pillars of the platform.
The 4 pillars.
Yeah. Each pillar has its own user base, its own technical demands, and critically, its own development cost. So the first pillar is the customer app.
Which is the one everyone knows.
Exactly. This is the storefront.
Yeah.
It requires a highly polished user interface, intelligent search algorithms, so people can find exactly what they want.
Right, because if I can't find my sushi, I'm gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You need a frictionless checkout process and live order tracking. Because the user experience has to be flawless to keep consumers from bouncing to a competitor, it requires heavy design work.
Yeah.
So it's typically the most expensive component, running anywhere from $25,000 to $60,000 all on its own.
That makes total sense to me. I mean, if the storefront is ugly or hard to navigate, I'm just going to close the app and go hungry. Or just open another app.
Yes.
So what is the second pillar?
So the second is the vendor or merchant app.
Okay.
Picture the tablet sitting next to the cash register in a chaotic, noisy, hot restaurant kitchen.
Oh, man. Yeah. Greasy fingers everywhere.
Right. The staff use this interface to accept incoming orders, update their menu items, and track their daily sales. So the design philosophy here is completely different from the customer app.
How so?
Well, it doesn't need to be beautiful. It needs to be loud, simple, and foolproof. If a chef with flour on their hands cannot easily tap a button to mark an item out of stock, they will grow to absolutely hate your platform.
That is so true. They're not looking for pretty aesthetics during a dinner rush.
Exactly. So building a robust vendor application typically costs between $15,000 and $35,000.
Okay, so we have the customer ordering the food and the restaurant preparing it. The third piece has to be the driver, right?
Right. The driver or courier app. This is what the delivery riders rely on to accept orders, navigate through city traffic, and track their earnings in real time. According to the data, this component runs between $20,000 and $45,000.
Wow. Okay, and the fourth?
And to complete the ecosystem, the fourth pillar is the admin panel.
Ah, the guys behind the curtain.
Yeah, exactly. This is a secure, web-based control center that the public never even knows exists. It's where the platform owners sit to manage the financial commissions, resolve disputes between customers and restaurants, activate promo codes, monitor analytics. Building that control center costs between $15,000 and $30,000.
Wait, I need to jump in here and challenge his numbers for a second.
Sure.
I am looking at this breakdown, and why on earth does the driver app cost almost as much as the beautiful, feature-rich customer app?
It's a common question, yeah.
I mean, The customer app has the high-resolution photos, the complex payment gateways, the AI recommendations. The driver app is essentially just a map with a giant accept order button. How can that possibly cost up to $45,000 to build?
What's fascinating here is that the driver app is actually the most technically complex piece of the entire puzzle.
Really?
Yes, and it all comes down to the environment the software operates in. Think about it. A customer is usually sitting on their couch or at an office desk with a perfectly stable Wi-Fi connection, right?
Right.
But a delivery driver is in constant motion. They are driving through rural areas where cellular coverage just drops to nothing. They were walking into concrete apartment building stairwells where they lose their signal entirely.
Ah, okay. So the app has to survive in a hostile environment.
It has to be bulletproof. The driver app requires incredibly robust offline support. If the driver loses signal in an elevator, the app cannot just crash or lose the active order data.
Oh man, that would be disaster.
Right. It has to cache that information locally, keep the navigation running, and then instantly sync back with the server the second the signal returns.
Wow.
Furthermore, the app has to constantly ping real-time GPS locations back to the central database, so the customer and the restaurant know exactly where the courier is.
Which eats up battery.
Exactly.
Huh.
Managing that continuous two-way data stream without completely draining the driver's phone battery in 20 minutes requires highly sophisticated, deeply optimized engineering. That is what you are paying for.
That completely flips my perspective. It isn't about how pretty the buttons are. It is about keeping the data alive in a concrete stairwell.
Yep, pretty much.
So if we step back, we have these four distinct applications. And if we add them all up, we arrive at that massive price spread. But obviously, not every scrappy startup has $250,000 in the bank on day one. How does the guide suggest businesses actually approach this financially?
So the source material lays out a very clear progression of platform tiers. You do not build the Ferrari on day one. You start with the MVP.
The minimum viable product.
Right. This is your $40,000 to $80,000 tier. At this level, you are building the absolute bare bones just to validate that people in your city actually want this service.
Okay.
You have a simple ordering system, a single credit card payment method, and manual status updates instead of those live animated cars driving on a map.
Just proving the concept, basically, getting a sandwich from point A to point B.
Exactly. Now, once the startup gains traction and secures more funding, they move to the standard tier. That jumps to the $80,000 to $150,000 range.
And what do they get for that upgrade?
This is where you introduce the live GPS tracking, multiple payment options like Apple Pay and PayPal, proper push notifications, and detailed vendor analytics. From there, you reach the advanced tier, which sits between $150,000 and $250,000.
Okay, so what are we getting for $250,000?
Automation and scale. At the advanced level, the platform uses artificial intelligence to recommend products based on a user's past behavior.
Oh, nice.
It includes dynamic surge pricing engines that automatically increase delivery fees when it starts raining and driver supply drops.
Oh, the dreaded rain surcharge.
Yeah, that's the one. And it also includes deep integrations into the restaurant's own point-of-sale systems, so they don't even need your tablet anymore. It just goes straight into their existing screens.
Okay, I am following the logic.
Huh.
But the guide lists an enterprise tier that goes well beyond $250,000. If I already have AI recommendations and dynamic pricing, what could possibly be left to justify spending more than $250,000?
The key at the enterprise level is infrastructure resilience and multi-region architecture.
Okay.
Imagine a global platform operating in 50 different countries. The database has to handle multiple currencies, vastly different tax laws, and different languages simultaneously.
Right. That's a whole different ballgame.
It is. Furthermore, at that scale, you need SLA-grade infrastructure. That means service-level agreements that essentially guarantee the system will experience zero downtime.
Zero. That's a high bar.
When you are processing thousands of orders a minute, an app crash that lasts 5 minutes could cost the company tens of thousands of dollars. So the engineering required to build a system that can fail over to backup servers instantly without dropping a single active order is incredibly expensive.
Okay, I see the value there. That makes sense. But let's say I'm an entrepreneur and I want that advanced tier feature set, but my budget is stuck down in the MVP tier. Is there a shortcut? Like, how do I get that cost down without cutting all my features?
Well, the guide details a strategy that is arguably the biggest variable in the entire development budget, and that is the geography of your engineering team.
Ah, where they live.
Right. If you hire a development agency based in North America or Western Europe, you're looking at hourly billing rates between $100 and $200. At those rates, even a lean basic MVP is going to start well over $120,000.
Because you are paying Silicon Valley premiums for the talent.
Right. But if you look at regions like Eastern Europe or Latin America, those hourly rates drop to $40 to $80 an hour.
Wow, that's half.
Yeah, and if you go further to South or Southeast Asia, you will find highly skilled engineering teams charging between $25 and $55 an hour. By leveraging a team in that region, you can build the exact same software, line for line, for between $30,000 and $80,000.
So what does this all mean? It means the biggest factor in your budget isn't necessarily what you are building, but where the people building it are sitting.
Exactly.
You could have the exact same feature list and pay vastly different amounts just based on global economics.
Yes, and that transition brings us to the actual mechanics of the build. Once a founder has the budget and the team, they have to choose the tools. The source guide gets very specific about the modern tech stack required to make these 4 applications function together.
Right.
For the mobile apps, the ones the customers and drivers use, the industry standard is to utilize frameworks like React Native or Flutter. For the back end, the brain of the operation, teams rely on Node.js or Python. And to handle that critical live tracking, they use WebSockets.
Let's pause on WebSockets because I hear that term thrown around a lot in tech circles. But the guide's explanation of why they are necessary is really illuminating.
It is, yeah.
Because normally an app uses a standard HTTP request, which is basically the app tapping the server on the shoulder and asking, "Where is the driver now?" And the server answers. But if you want live tracking, the app has to ask every single second, like a kid in the back seat, constantly asking, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" And it just overloads the system.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. WebSockets solve that "are we there yet" problem.
Okay, how?
Instead of forcing the app to constantly ask for updates, a WebSocket opens a persistent, continuous two-way radio channel between the driver's phone, the server, and the customer's app.
Oh, I get it. So the line is just left open.
Exactly. Once that radio channel is open, the server can just push the location updates instantly as they happen. It drastically reduces the strain on the servers and preserves the battery life of all the devices.
That makes perfect sense. I also want to highlight React Native because the guide shows how choosing this framework heavily impacts the budget.
Oh, massively.
Using React Native is basically like building a house where the walls magically adapt to both a winter and summer climate simultaneously. It's one code base for both iOS and Android. You don't have to pay 2 different developers to write the same code from scratch for 2 different phone types.
Exactly the point. By writing one unified code base that deploys to both the iOS App Store and the Google Play Store, development teams reduce their mobile engineering time by roughly 30 to 40%.
That's huge.
It is. You are getting 2 apps for the effort of 1.5. And you need every bit of that efficiency because the timeline to build a platform of this magnitude is formidable. The text outlines a realistic schedule for a 4 to 6 person development team, and it is a minimum of 9 months.
9 months of paying a full team of engineers.
Minimum, yeah. The schedule is heavily structured, so month 1 is entirely dedicated to discovery and architecture. No coding happens here.
None?
None. It is all about designing the system, structuring the database, and planning the APIs. Months 2 and 3 are dedicated to building the core backend logic and the customer app.
Okay.
Then months 4 and 5 are the heavy lift we discussed earlier, the driver app and the complex real-time GPS features. Month 6 is focused on the admin panel and the vendor dashboard.
Right.
Months 7 and 8 are strictly reserved for quality assurance, penetration testing for security, and beta testing with real users.
Yeah.
And then finally, month 9 is the public launch.
Okay, let me put my scrappy startup founder hat on for a second.
Okay, go for it.
I am looking at this 9-month calendar, and I am bleeding cash every single week. Can't I just skip month 1? Like, can I skip the endless meetings about discovery and architecture and just order the team to start coding on day 1 to save cash?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, skipping that architectural planning phase is the single most destructive financial mistake a founder can make in software development.
Really? The single most?
Yes. Think of the APIs and the database as the circulatory system of a city. If you just start dropping buildings, the app, wherever you want, without planning the underground plumbing first, you are setting yourself up for disaster.
Okay, give me an example.
Let's say in month 2, your team builds a feature in the customer app, allowing users to request extra spicy food. But because you skipped month 1, nobody planned for the vendor app's database to have a field capable of receiving a spice level request.
Ah, so the customer orders it spicy, but the kitchen never even sees the request.
Precisely. And when month 6 rolls around and you discover that the data isn't routing correctly, you cannot just apply a quick patch. You have to tear up the streets, rip out the plumbing, and rewrite the core logic of all 4 applications so they can speak the same language.
Wow, that sounds incredibly expensive.
It is. The guide is unequivocal on this point. Skipping discovery inevitably leads to massive, wildly expensive rework later in the timeline.
So you just have to respect the process. You spend the 9 months, you build the architecture, you test it, and you finally launch. You pop the champagne, the app is live in the store.
Right.
But this is where the guide drops a rather harsh reality check. Launch day isn't the finish line. It is actually just the starting line for a whole new set of expenses. It describes it as the iceberg effect.
Yeah, that iceberg analogy is spot on. The initial development cost is merely the tip of the iceberg visible above the water. The moment your platform goes live, a cascading series of hidden ongoing costs kicks in.
What's the first big one?
The first major category is annual maintenance. Software is not a static object. It degrades as operating systems update and new devices are released. You must budget 15 to 20% of your total initial development cost every single year just to keep the platform functioning.
Okay, wait, let me do the math. So if you spent $150,000 building the system, you must allocate between $22,000 and $30,000 annually just for routine bug fixes and server scaling.
And security patches.
Yes.
So you are basically paying a salary just to keep the lights on and stand still.
Yes, you are. Then comes the hurdle of marketing and vendor acquisition, which is notoriously difficult for this specific business model. A delivery platform is a two-sided marketplace. It suffers from the cold start problem.
The cold start problem, right?
You have to convince restaurants to join your platform, but they won't join if you don't have customers. At the same time, you have to spend advertising dollars to acquire customers, but they will instantly delete your app if their favorite restaurants aren't on it.
It's a catch-22.
It really is. You are burning capital on both sides simultaneously just to create the marketplace. The guide suggests budgeting 20 to 40% of your development cost purely for this initial marketing push.
That is a very delicate balancing act. And on top of that, we have the third category of hidden costs, which is the subscriptions and compliance fees.
Yeah, these are the toll bridges of the internet. If you are processing credit cards, you must maintain PCI DSS compliance, legally ensuring you are handling financial data securely. That is a $5,000 to $15,000 setup process, followed by annual audit fees.
Ouch.
Then you have the Apple and Google developer fees. You have your payment gateway. Stripe, for example, will take 2.9% plus 30 cents on every single transaction that flows through your platform.
Every single sandwich.
Every single one. If you want your app to send an SMS text message when the driver arrives, you pay a service like Twilio per message. If you want the MAD interface to show the streets accurately, you pay Google Maps based on your API usage.
Man, it adds up incredibly fast. It feels like every time a user taps their screen, half a dozen companies take a fraction of a cent.
They absolutely do.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The guide doesn't just list all these terrifying expenses to scare people off. It actually provides a roadmap for smart cost optimization. It details how a savvy operator can trim the budget without fundamentally breaking the product.
Right, because there's a critical distinction between smart optimization and simply underbuilding a flawed product.
Okay, what's the first strategy?
The first and most effective strategy is to ruthlessly delay advanced features. Do not build an AI recommendation engine or a complex, multi-tiered loyalty program for your initial launch.
Just stick to the basics.
Exactly. Wait to see if people even like your core service before you spend $60,000 building an algorithm to suggest what they should order next. Sticking strictly to a bare-bones MVP saves massive amounts of upfront capital.
Basically, build the bicycle before you try to build the spaceship.
Exactly. The second technical strategy is to build a design system early in month 1.
What does that mean, practically?
This means creating a central, reusable library for your digital components. So the buttons, the drop-down menus, the color palettes. By establishing this library once, you avoid paying developers to repeatedly code the exact same visual elements across the customer, vendor, and driver apps.
Oh, I see.
It creates visual consistency and reduces front-end development time by 20 to 30%.
That's a massive saving. And the third optimization strategy the text pushes heavily is relying on managed services. The golden rule seems to be do not rebuild what already exists in the world.
Yes.
Like if you need a live chat feature so the customer can text the driver, do not spend 3 weeks engineering a custom chat protocol. Just plug in a managed service like Firebase. Do not build a custom payment processor when Stripe already spent billions perfecting theirs.
Right. Leveraging these existing tools saves months of costly development time. And finally, the source material offers one last alternative. The absolute cheapest route available, designed for entrepreneurs who simply do not have $40,000 to spend on custom software.
Okay, what is it?
They can utilize a white label solution.
Oh, okay.
Companies like ShareTribe or Enatega have already built fully functional multi-vendor platforms. They take their existing pre-tested code base, apply your specific logo, your brand colors, and your localized settings, and they just hand you the keys. You can launch a platform in 4 to 8 weeks.
Wow. What kind of price tag are we looking at for a white label setup?
Generally between $5,000 and $20,000.
That's a fraction of the cost.
It is. The trade-off is clear, though. You sacrifice the ability to completely customize the architecture or own the underlying intellectual property. But you get to market incredibly fast at a much lower cost, which is ideal for someone trying to prove a concept in a small, untested regional market.
That is a phenomenal shortcut for the right type of business. So whether you are a learner planning to build the next big tech startup, an executive prepping for a quarterly operations meeting, or just someone who wanted to understand why your local food delivery app occasionally glitches out on a rainy Friday night, the takeaway here is really profound.
It really is.
Success in this arena is not about throwing $250,000 at developers and hoping for the best. It is about architectural planning. It is understanding that you are managing an ecosystem of 4 distinct applications, intelligently leveraging global geography to manage costs, and respecting the iceberg effect of post-launch maintenance and marketing.
This raises an important question, though.
Oh.
We are analyzing a 2026 landscape that dictates a minimum of 9 months and a team of 4 to 6 senior engineers to build a custom platform from scratch.
Right.
But with the rapid, undeniable advancement of AI coding assistance, how long until that timeline compresses entirely?
Wow, yeah.
Will we soon see a world where a single non-techno founder can simply prompt a fully functional multi-vendor platform into existence in a matter of days? Because if that technology fully matures, the entire $250,000 cost structure we just spent all this time analyzing will be completely upended.
What an incredible thought to end on. Imagine that reality. Just typing a paragraph describing your ideal marketplace, and an AI instantly generates the customer storefront, the rugged vendor tablet interface, the offline-capable driver app, and the admin control center, all flawlessly connected with the correct databases.
It changes everything.
It really makes you wonder how much longer the current agency model can last. It is definitely something to mull over the next time you tap your phone screen and watch that little digital car slowly navigate the map toward your house. Remember, you're not just looking at one app, you're watching a swan on the lake with 4 distinct sets of legs paddling furiously underneath the water. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.